Close your eyes. Open them again. You're no longer sitting with your phone. You're standing by a fire 20,000 years ago. You don't have deadline stress. You have hunger, cold, and fear of tomorrow. But even here, you'll find a way to switch off your mind. Watch how it really happened. You find a hollow tree filled with wild honey. Inside, rainwater. The honey and water sat in the heat for days. Wild yeast from the air did the rest. You drink it. It's no longer honey. It's fermented mead, the first alcohol on the planet. Scientists found traces of a similar drink on 9,000-year-old pottery, a mix of honey, rice, and fruit in China. You're not brewing it yourself yet. Nature is doing it for you. You live in Mesopotamia, 4000 BCE. You soak barley in water and wait for it to sprout and release sugar. Then you mash the grain into a paste, add water, and let it sit to ferment. Wild yeast turns the sugar into alcohol. A few days later, it's ready. You drink this beer through a straw. It's thick, with grain husks floating in it. Scientists found a text, a hymn to Ninkasi, the goddess of beer, that spells out this exact recipe, line by line. It's the oldest recorded method of making alcohol in the world. You're paid in this beer for your work, up to 3 liters a day. You live along the Nile. You have a vineyard. You crush grapes with your feet in a stone basin, collect the juice in jars, and let it ferment for weeks. The result is wine, found in pharaohs' tombs, in sealed jars marked with the year and vineyard, almost like a modern label. But if your body aches, you don't reach for wine. You reach for poppy. You slice open a poppy seed pod and collect the hardened sap, opium. You dissolve it in a drink. You drink it. The pain fades. Sleep comes. Traces of opium have been found in Egyptian medicine jars, confirmed through chemical analysis. You live in the mountains of ancient India, more than 3,000 years ago. You press the stalks of a rare plant between 2 stones, squeezing out a yellow-brown juice. You strain it through sheep's wool, then mix it with milk or curds. This is soma, a drink sacred enough that an entire chapter of your holy text is devoted to praising it. You drink it during a fire ritual, offering some to the gods before you taste it yourself. Priests who drink it describe feeling immortal. We found the light, we found the gods, one hymn says. To this day, no one is entirely sure which plant it truly was. Some say a mushroom, others a mountain herb. The knowledge was lost, and only the poems remain. You're in ancient China, 3,000 years ago. Rice is cooked down, mixed with a special mold that turns starch into sugar, then into alcohol. The result is rice wine, stronger than regular beer, poured on the ancestral altar before every festival. Ancient inscriptions carved onto ox bones already mention offering wine to the spirits, long before paper existed. But if you need a rotten tooth pulled, you go to a physician named Hua Tuo. He prepares a drink from crushed cannabis flowers and leaves mixed with wine. He calls this mixture mafeisan, one of the first anesthetics ever recorded. You drink it, you fall asleep. You wake up, the surgery is over, the pain almost gone. On other nights, you simply toss cannabis seeds onto hot coals inside a closed tent and breathe in the smoke. No wine, no food, just smoke. You're a nomad. Your home is a yurt. After a funeral or a long journey, you set up a small fire of heated stones inside the yurt. You throw cannabis seeds onto them, not the leaves, the seeds. Smoke rises, the yurt is sealed, there's nothing left to breathe but this smoke. You inhale it and howl with pleasure. The Greek historian Herodotus will later write about this. They howl with joy. Archaeologists found vessels with charred cannabis seeds in Scythian burial mounds in the Altai, right beside the graves of chiefs. Herodotus's account turned out to be true. You climb high into the Andes, the air thin. You tuck dried coca leaves into your cheek and slowly chew them. Fatigue fades, breathing steadies, confirmed even by modern physiology, since the coca leaf contains a compound that reduces the feeling of exhaustion at high altitude. Far to the north, in the valleys of Mesoamerica, you tap a different plant, the agave. You scoop the sweet sap from its core and let it ferment for just a few days. The result is pulque, a milky, sour drink sacred to the goddess Mayahuel. Ordinary people are only allowed a few cups at festivals. Drinking too much, too often, can carry real punishment. This drink is treated with respect, not as an everyday habit. In other lands, you roll a tobacco leaf into a tube and smoke it, not for pleasure, but as a ritual, to speak with the spirits. If you're a shaman, you eat special mushrooms that grow after the rain. They alter your perception so much that you see and hear things no one else can. You're on a small island in the Pacific, thousands of miles from anywhere else. You dig up the root of a pepper plant, cut it into pieces, and chew it until it softens. You spit the pulp into a wooden bowl and mix it with water. The drink turns cloudy, earthy tasting. This is kava. A village elder passes the bowl around during a ceremony, and everyone drinks from it in turn, in a strict order of rank. Your muscles relax, your mind quiets, but you stay fully aware. Unlike alcohol, kava won't cloud your judgment or leave you with a headache the next morning. This isn't about losing control, it's about connection with each other and with your ancestors. You're reclining at a banquet in Greece. A cup sits in front of you. Wine is poured into it and diluted with water, roughly 1 part wine to 3 parts water. Drinking wine undiluted is considered barbaric, something in the Greek view only foreigners do. You discuss philosophy as you sip slowly. This gathering is called a symposium, and sometimes it ends with a game where you flick the last drops of wine from your cup at a target across the room. Years later, you're a Roman. Wine flows almost without limit at the feasts, and if your head aches, a physician once again dissolves opium poppy in your wine, just as they did back in Egypt. Before this journey ends, a few more things are worth knowing. In ancient Sumer, the same clay tablets that recorded the world's first beer recipe also recorded something else, one of the earliest words for drunk in human language. People weren't just discovering alcohol, they were already naming what it did to them. Some archaeologists even argue that humans learned to farm grain not for bread, but for beer. Wild grain is hard to turn into flour, but easy to soak and ferment. Bread may have been the byproduct, beer may have come first. In China, at a site called Jiahu, the fermented drink you tried earlier, the one made from honey, rice, and fruit, dates back over 9,000 years. It's currently the oldest chemically confirmed alcoholic beverage on Earth, found sealed inside pottery jars buried with the dead. Across ancient Egypt, doctors didn't just use opium to numb pain. A surviving medical papyrus lists dozens of remedies for headaches, including one that involves rubbing crushed herbs directly into the skin of a suffering patient's head. In Northern Europe, later Viking communities gathered in halls to drink fermented honey mead from massive shared horns, a drink so central to their culture that their word for a heavily intoxicated celebration became the root of the modern word bridal, tied to old wedding mead traditions. Across South and Southeast Asia, for thousands of years, people chewed something entirely different, betel nut wrapped in a leaf with a pinch of lime. It doesn't make you drunk. It makes your heart race and your mind sharpen, like an ancient version of chewing gum laced with caffeine. It's still chewed by millions of people today in the exact same way. And the word alcohol itself has ancient roots. It comes from the Arabic alcohol, originally the name for a fine cosmetic powder, later applied to any substance refined into its purest, most concentrated form. Every culture on Earth, completely independent of the others, arrived at the same discovery, that fermentation, smoke, or a chewed leaf could change how a person felt. No one taught this to anyone else. It simply kept happening, again and again, on every continent, for as long as humans have existed. Honey, barley, grapes, poppy, palm sap, soma, rice, cannabis, coca, agave, mushrooms, kava. Different substances, different continents, the same goal, to switch off the anxiety, if only for one evening. The method changed. The need never did.